Welcome to Rooster High Radio. My name is Zach Armstrong. I am the founder at Rooster High Productions, and this little podcast is my media arm of my business. It's where I get to talk about all the things I'm working on, the expertise I am executing on behalf of my clients in podcasts and content marketing, because content marketing powered by podcasts is my business, and I want to tell you about it. There's no secrets here, just a whole lot of processes that I have figured out, that I'm always improving, that I'm iterating on, that I can serve you with, that I can serve other people with, and I want to walk through them here. Today's topic is differentiators. We are talking about what makes you different and how you figure out how you're different, and then how you talk about how you're different across social media and any other kinds of media you end up in, and what the goal of showing how you're different is. So we're talking about differentiators today, a whole lot of factors involved in the process of figuring that out, how it's practical, what it does, how to do it. Again, I am Zach. This is Rooster High Radio. If you're not subscribed, go ahead and hit follow on whatever podcast platform you are on so that you hear me every Friday talking about content marketing in your inbox. All right, so diving in, we're going to talk about what are differentiators. They are a classic marketing tool, and we're going to kind of break down exactly what they are, because they can be a little bit vague until you get to actually see them and you go, oh, yeah, that's actually pretty straightforward. We're going to talk about how you find your differentiators. There's a few ways to do this. There's some informal ways and some more formal ways that have a few prerequisites on them. And then there is, how do you deploy these differentiators? Once you have them, what do you actually do with your differentiators? And then what results can you expect to see once you have your differentiators? What is a differentiator? Well, of course, it's kind of in the name. It's what makes you different, but it's what makes you different, your product or service, relative to your peers. So if you have a product or service, you're going to want to point out what makes you different and why people would choose you over somebody else, and that reason should be unique. There shouldn't be somebody else with that reason. We talked a little bit about this, where if you're kind of like me, you're a professional service business, so really it's your face, your personality, your voice that you're putting out there a lot, that people are going to interact with, that they're going to see on social. The first differentiator that you have is just you. What's in your personality? What's in your skill set? What makes you a unique person? Because they're not going to have you. No other content marketing houses have Zach Armstrong. So if you go and you shop around, you look at other people who do similar work, whether with podcasts or not, you're gonna see plenty of good things. There's gonna be lots of great companies that do great content marketing work, but at none of those companies are you gonna find Zach Armstrong. You're not gonna find my specific energy, my specific background, my specific passions for how I do this, right? Other people might have stuff you like more, and that's great. The world is wide. There's more than enough content marketing work out there, I've learned. And so a differentiator is going to start in a professional service business, at the very least, with you. You are the first differentiator. However, we've got to drill that down a little bit more, don't we? You can't just say, hi, I'm Zach, hire me. I mean, sometimes that'll work, but you're really going to need a little bit more convincing, a little more specificity about what makes you different than your competition and why people should pick you. So you're going to look for things like how you do things. What do people love about your professional relationship you have with them? What are the things you do that make people go, wow, I really love it when so-and-so, I really love it when Zach, is really just on top of all of the due dates of the deliverables and what I'm supposed to get to Zach, what Zach is sending to me. I always feel like I know exactly what's going on, right? With me, I also have a storytelling background from, like I mentioned the previous episode, I've done a lot of nerdy storytelling that was very intense practice for the kind of work I do now. I've done a lot of media work across agencies and some other formats where I've worked a lot with audio, with video, and crafting that into stories and finding the goals of these stories, especially in my agency days, right? Finding the true story of a client and saying, how do we use this true story and say it in a true way that then connects their audience to the goals, whether that is, hey, audience, we just need you to be more aware, right? We need you to be more aware of this business and what they're doing because we know we're at the stage where we need a bit of that groundswell of awareness, right? Maybe there's a story we're telling around a specific service or offering, and the goal really is to get them to convert and pick up on that service or offering, right? So there's a lot of this stuff that is my personal differentiators that I continue to list out, I continue to define, and then make sure I'm talking about in my media, right? Anywhere I'm appearing. So your differentiators are what makes you different. So how do you find these? Well, there's informal ways to do this, and then there are formal ways to do this. The informal ways are really reflecting on yourself, what you do, what your business does, if you have a team, right? And looking for the patterns in people's feedback and people's praises. Because what you'll find there is the stuff that really stood out to people when they worked with you. This information can come not just from your clients, but from business partners, from vendors, from community partners, or people you've served in the community in other ways. It can come from all of these different places because the differentiators, here's the thing, they have to be true. They have to reflect reality. Your differentiators have to really, truly reflect reality about who you are and how you work. Because haven't you had bad experiences when you come in contact with a brand and they're totally different than the expectations they set because they were trying to tell you one thing, but then you come into contact with the brand and it was a totally different experience, maybe a bad customer service experience, maybe they told you the product was amazing, then you get the product and it was not so amazing. Think about, now they're kind of in the too big to fail category, but think about fast food commercials. You see the beautiful burger, beautifully laid out, it is fluffy and sitting just so on top of that delicious looking, processed beef patty. And then you get there, you get your burger in the package and it's all kind of smush. It's kind of wet. It's kind of damp. You want to show off what is true and what is good about you and your business. And so look for patterns in the feedback you've gotten, especially the positive feedback, for the things you can point out about your personality, about your team, about what you're good at and the things that people notice about you. And so this is a reflective list for you to keep and define because that's where you'll find your differentiators. Now, the way I put differentiators together, actually, like what they actually kind of physically are, is that you pick a phrase that represents each differentiator. You might look for 3 to 5, a pithy phrase that really, in a quick summary, gives an idea of what the differentiator is. And so you have a pithy phrase and then a short, maybe 2 to 3 sentence max, 2 to 3 sentence explainer underneath the pithy phrase. And so you might have a handful of these that cover the different aspects of your business, how you handle relationships, the kind of processes or services that you have, right? How connected you are to the community, anything that does serve and make you different in a way that would help somebody pick you over a competitor, right? And so me as a storyteller, as a theater kid, agency background, wielding nerdery and media in many of my different experiences, this is all the kind of stuff I would talk about. All the kind of stuff I would talk about. I've also been a project manager in those marketing contexts for a very long time. And so timetables and keeping clear expectations and letting you know pretty constantly like what's going on with each project so that you'll always feel informed. You feel informed and on top of it is another thing I really strive to do. So that would be another differentiator of mine, right? And then we turn it into a pithy phrase. And you write these down and you have these differentiators of how you are different, how you are worth hiring over a competitor. And you want to put them somewhere you can see them. You want to print them out on a piece of paper, put them up on a wall in your office. And if you have marketing people, you need to send these to your marketing people, whether in-house or out-of-house, so that these differentiators are reflected anywhere you actually are writing or talking about yourself. Once you have your differentiators, you need to make sure they are reflected anywhere you are talking about yourself or you're being talked about. A couple examples of this, social media captions, right? If you're putting stuff out onto social media or you're talking in a video on social media, you want to make sure you're hitting at least the spirit of a few of your differentiators because these are the same notes, these are the same songs that you're going to be singing to your audience over and over. And so the win is when your audience knows all of these specifics about you and people know why you're different. They know why you're worth picking, right? This also extends to things like earned media. Did you have a really big success in some special and really meaningful way? And there's earned media, like in a newspaper, right? Somebody is covering you. When you send a quote or they're covering you, you want to see if you can make sure your differentiators are covered there. Now, you don't want to print the exact list of your differentiators necessarily. That's appropriate in some cases. But at least if you're giving a quote that involves the business, you're going to want to reflect a few of your differentiators in that quote as it goes out, right? So that you're always talking about why you're different and why you're worth picking for your specific differentiators, what makes you unique, the specific kinds of value people are going to get when they work with you. So differentiators, in summary, differentiators are, these summaries of how you are different, right? A pithy phrase attached with an explainer. You want to print these out. You want to know them. You want to develop them. And you want to repeat them everywhere you can so that people know who you are. For instance, locally, just in the context of me networking around Athens, Georgia, where I'm based, one of my differentiators kind of by default, because there's not another podcast producer in the area, is that, oh yeah, that's the podcast guy. And so locally, I try to lean on being the podcast guy, at least for this season, until there's another podcast guy or gal out here in Athens, Georgia, because that sticks in people's minds. They go, oh yeah, Zach, he's the podcast guy. And everybody knows if you need anything involving a podcast, that you go to Zach. And that's, well, not everybody knows that yet, but that is what I'm trying to cultivate, at least in my local presence and how I use my social media and feeding into the local presence. I mentioned a formal way to do differentiators earlier. Now, this is more for if you've been in business at least a few years and you have relationships among a few different groups of people that are at least a few years old. I'd say really 3 is about the minimum you'd want for this, because the formal process is where you hire somebody who's run the process before, like me. And what you do is you run interview groups, you run interview email surveys with a number of different groups, and you walk through a big list of questions. And it's not this a formal data gathering, but you're gathering relationship information. And so the professional who's out there doing it, like me, goes out with a specific kind of list of questions, and you ask these groups. You have interviewed groups. You typically do these in person, and you ask them questions about the brand in question, about the business in question, or the organization in question. And what you do is you gather hours of interviews with all these different groups, couple key stakeholders, staff, community partners, whomever. And then your storytelling professional who has been running all this, because you really don't want to do this in-house. You want somebody who's on the outside looking in and can really empathize, understand, look at what's going on. And then I take all that information from all of these strategically picked groups who are involved with your brand. And then I look at the relational reality that you have generated over the years. And I look for all the through lines. This is a several-day process. This is a several-day, almost meditative process, going through all of these transcripts and recordings, looking for the themes of who is this business? Why are they different? And how has that shown up in the past 3 years? Now, I work with the business or organization in question to make sure that what comes out of it does reflect their goals. It can be a little aspirational, right? But it really has to be based in reality, because like we talked about with the fast food burger, I don't want to create something that simply only pleases the client's vanities and doesn't reflect reality. Because if they start saying these things that don't reflect reality in their marketing, nobody's going to be happy, and they're not going to actually gain any groundswell traction with people knowing specifically who they are and keeping in mind more readily why they're worth paying attention to, why they're worth picking, why they're worth being involved in. And so I go and I synthesize, the expert synthesizes and finds all of these through lines about what is this business or organization really about, and generates the differentiators. Then, of course, you go through a review process with those to make sure the clients are happy with them. But you do have to defend the truth the whole way through. That is an expectation that we do set with when we do this process, is that this has got to reflect reality, or it is not going to be useful. It's not going to be worth it. One funny thing with differentiators, especially with the formal process, is that sometimes when you come out on the other side with the differentiators, people go, I know this about the business. I mean, I never said it that way, but I know this about the business. Why are we paying you this money to figure out this thing I already know about the business? And then you say, well, it's because you're not saying it. Look at these differentiators, these 3 to 5 differentiators about why you're special, why you're worth it. You knew this already, but now go look at your social media. Go look at your CEO's quote in the paper from last week when, they did this great thing in the community that they got recognized for. None of these differentiators are here. Look at, if you're a kind of organization with a board, look at the quote from the board president about your purpose, and then go look at this other statement of purpose you have in this other document and how you talk about yourselves. Yeah, you have a mission and vision, but when you all start talking about this, when you start giving interviews, when you start posting things on social media, it all drifts and starts to sound different. So this isn't a mission or a vision. It's your single sheet of music for your marketing to sing off of. And so you can start to do, the informal process with this where you pick your differentiators and remember they have to be reflected in reality. And you make sure to harp on your differentiators as you go through your social media, or you can go through the big formal process where you hire somebody like me to go find these for you. So those are what differentiators are. You want to be different. If you're an accountant, maybe you have a niche. If you're a realtor, maybe you're very good at a specific way of handling relationships that you're really known for, right? What makes you different? You're going to know that better than me. What makes you different? What makes you really worth going with apart from somebody else? If this is a kind of process you'd like to explore doing formally, shoot me an email at zach@roosterhigh.com. I absolutely love running this process because it is true and deep storytelling that can really help a business or organization get their message out there in a meaningful way so people know concretely who they are and what they're about. This has been Rooster High Radio, where we talked about differentiators today, which is a really high-level thing related to content marketing, but it's so important. It's one of the building blocks, the foundational building blocks of what matters in your content marketing. It's that consistency of messaging, right? That consistency of messaging is going to be powered by these differentiators. This is Rooster High Radio. I'm Zach Armstrong. You can always reach me at zach@roosterhigh.com. If you have any content marketing questions or questions about working with me, you can find my current set of offers on the website, roosterhigh.com, and I would love to hear from you there. And make sure you're following on whatever podcast app you're listening on so that every Friday you can hear Rooster High Radio as I drop episodes talking about content marketing, about messaging strategy around content marketing, all, of course, powered by podcasts. We'll see you next time.